Thank you. All right, why don't we start with Keith? We'll Keith, Bonn, and Bill on this one. What do you believe have been the biggest tactical or mechanical failures of the Minnesota GOP over the last couple of election cycles, and what plans do you have to fix them? It's more than a 60-second question.
The biggest and most obvious one, that is the data and the lists and the technology support that the state party has provided to the BPOUs in the congressional districts. Pretty clearly, when you take a look at what the Democrats did nationally and here in spades locally, we did not have the capability, the ability to identify individual voters and what their issues were, the ability to mobilize, get out the vote activities. There was a lot of good work that was done in the BPOUs. There was a lot of good work done by the grassroots, but we did not have the infrastructure and the overall capability for them to do that job. And so rebuilding our lists and our databases and frankly extending that so that we pick up all the social media connections and extend that out into a very robust communication plan. When you think about all of the places that we have to communicate through the online social media, the traditional media, through our own grassroots, directly to the people through their own coalitions where they live and work, we have a huge effort to undergo both in the technology for the identification of people and then communicating to them.
That's absolutely right. The voter ID is the crux of the, I think, use the word technical. That is it. We, back in 20 years ago, during the 80s, we were well known as never, for a period of 10 to 15 years, never losing a special election because we had voter ID and we had the people on the ground to make it work. These two work together. But if you have people who do the voter ID, then you have people also that can switch gears and make it work. We've got to get back to that. 2 years under Tony Sutton, I was chair of statewide voter ID and found a great deal of melees around the state. People just didn't want to do it. We've got to change that. We've got to have field men, field people who are out there helping them, training them, encouraging them, and we can get back to where we were with 70% of the people identified, according to Wild Forge Crowd, in Hennepin County in 1970. We can do that again.
Well, I agree with Keith. There's a lot of technical issues we need to solve collecting data, but I think that's necessary but not sufficient. We also have a messaging and branding issue. We literally are at risk of losing a whole generation of voters unless we come out with a positive, clear, consistent message that resonates with them and that's consistent with our platform. I think what Senator Paul did several weeks ago with respect to standing up for our constitutional rights, I think that's got to be key to winning elections in the future. It's building a brand and building a base of young people that's centered around being the party of the Constitution, and we stand for all 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, and we stand for our Second Amendment rights, we stand for our rights to due process, we're opposed to indefinite detention. We've got to go out there and have a message about individual liberty that resonates with young people so that we can grow our base and have more voters. So when we go on voter ID people, we're actually going to be finding more people who will vote for our candidates.
All right, Joe, feel free to have some exchanges with us. I think we're okay with time. Joe,
I just want to say that there's been some favoritism up here. Bill's got 2 glasses of water. I don't know.
There we go. Got a picture, man. All right, so Joe, this next question. Tell us what you think of your view of the Republican messages. And what I want you to do is just tell us how you think that minority groups, gays, and Hispanics, how seniors are viewing our message. Is that the right message we want going forward? And then how would you change that? How would you shape it? Sorry. Let's start with Bonn, and then go to Bill.
Well, the message is that we're conservative. I mean, all you have to do is listen to Jason Lewis, Rush Limbaugh. You get a good idea of what the message is. The question is, with certain groups, they don't listen. They don't want to listen because they're being talked to by somebody else. But so let's say we had a chance to talk with them. Everybody fundamentally is a traditionalist in some way. So our conservative message should be conveyed to them on the basis of their traditionalism. Hispanics, blacks, women, any category you can think of have got views that are reflected in our platform. Our platform is very well done, by the way. It's a consensus of probably 50,000 people when you count all the recent talks. That is what people believe in our country. We should not be apologetic. Let's just tell the traditionalist conservative story. The question is how we reach those people. That particular outcome.
Yeah, it was very interesting you asked that question today because of the Growth and Opportunity Project, the RNC, released their report, and they talked about when we have to reach out to women and gays and minorities. I think that has to come from the bottom up. We need to strengthen our grassroots. We need to go out and explain to people more about the caucus and convention process, how it enables the grassroots to have their voice heard at the highest levels of our party. And then also we have more people to go out one-on-one to talk to people, to explain them Republican principles. So that's one reason why I'm so much opposed to these efforts to suppress the voice of the grassroots, these efforts to change the rules that would limit the ability of the caucuses to influence the policy discussions at the RNC. I think we've got to strengthen and enable the grassroots and the caucus system to go out and reach to people in their communities, whether it's gays or people in Wells and Minnesota.
Well, I think we have a huge opportunity right now. I'm fourth generation Minnesotan, and having traveled around the state as have Bill and Bonn, you know, and I am even more convinced that the people of Minnesota are fundamentally aligned in the way they run their lives, and the way they run their business, and the way they contribute to their communities with Republican values. And it still amazes me that this Minnesota ethic that I bet everybody in this room was raised with, their grandparents and their parents instilled in them, this deep Minnesota ethic, it's maybe a Midwestern ethic as well. And we just have to get back out and pay attention to the people of Minnesota and communicate to them where they live and where they work, and using language that they can understand. We've got to not just put a new brochure in front of them in September and October of 2014. We have to get back out and pay attention to the people of Minnesota. Get back out where they live and where they work, in the communities and the associations that they participate in. Listen to them, understand what their issues are, offer legislation for them, advocate for them. You can't do this on the cheap, people. We cannot simply think that a rebranding exercise is going to work. We have the right formula and the right policies, and I think the right principles for this state and this country. We've just got to get back out and meet with people.